Okay, good, 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 good. There you go. Mm. Okay, teacher, so I think that you can start recording. Well, guys, today I'm going to go to give a presentation to you regarding the evidences that God exists. And I want to start off by emphasizing the difference between proof and evidence, right? Now, why is this important? Because we know that in life we cannot prove anything at all, correct? And let me give you an example. How could you prove to me that your mom loves you? That's something that you cannot measure. You cannot measure his love, her love. How can you prove to me that anything that I drop down is going to fall down? Of course, at least I am not able to prove that to you. How can you prove to me that right now I am a human being giving this presentation and not a robot, just like a speaking? It's not possible. However, we do see that the evidence is that I am not a robot, given to the fact that I have movements that are similar to a human being, right? Or the same way that you can say that the evidence is that your mom, through different actions, shows you that she loves you, which is the evidence. So the evidence points out that she loves you, right? And that's where I want to reach out to. Another example, how a scientist can prove to me that energy is conserved. In life, we cannot prove anything at all. And science is not based on proof, but in evidence. Okay. And based on that, and given the situation, I could even say like we could be living in a simulation, and you could just be hallucinating everything, right? But what is the evidence? The evidence points out that this is reality, right? Now, what we have is evidence. We gather evidence, which is not 100. Yeah, it's not 100% truth, but it's what we have. So we only have an approximation of the truth, and we base our lives on that. We base our lives on truth. We base our life on faith, and we base our life on yeah, like on confidence, right? And evidence. Now that we have making that distinction, I want to start off with the first piece of evidence, which is nothingness do not produce everything. Okay. Um, Yeah, so my experiences in life points out to the fact that everything has a cost. Everything that has a beginning has a cost. Okay, because it is what we see in our daily lives, even from the plants, even from human beings, and everything that has life can create life, right? So, and that is also the law of cause and effect, and that is similar to Newton's third law, which is that for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. That's the third law of Newton. But according to Stephen Hawking and many other scientists as well, the universe has always existed and it never had a beginning. Like it was just there. There was nothing previous to that. Stephen Hawking once said, as you can see on the screen, that well, he was once asked the question, what caused the Big Bang? And he was like, okay, like, but you asking me that question is like asking what is the north of the North Pole. But what did he mean by that? What Stephen Hawking meant is that, if you go in any direction towards north or the North Pole, then you're going to find that after that there's no more north, because after that you're just heading south, so there's no north of the North Pole. And in that illustration, we can see, or what he wanted to emphasize, that before the universe was created, there was nothing. So, in a few words, nothingness produced everything. Nothingness produced the universe and everything that we see around, right? And for me, it takes more faith to believe that the universe has always existed. It takes more faith to believe that nothingness created everything than what it is to believe that an almighty, all powerful, and eternal God created heaven and earth. Why? because we have to take into account that even though everything that has a cause has that, has an effect, everything that has a beginning has a cost. We have to conclude as well that God is someone who is not limited by the physics, by the, yeah, like the physical laws of this universe, because he's an external agent of this universe. So he is not limited by our rules. And God, by definition, is an eternal being. If you look out for the definition of God, he's an eternal being. So without any problems, God can be the creator of the universe, and can be, he's like the uncaused cause of the universe, and he can do it without any problems. So let's move forward. Now the second point, this is more a more personal opinion about moral absolutes that points out to a moral lawgiver, which is God. The I think the moral is objective, and that it does not depend on the society or community that we live in. I don't think that moral standards were set by people so that we could just survive and get along with each other. So, like, we all know what is wrong and what is right, not because it has been inculcated or another word, or instilled in us by our family, but because God has put His moral standards in our heart. And yeah, like, therefore we know what is good and evil. So there is a moral standard and an objective justice over over all justice and standards given by each country in the world, which is of course the justice and law of God. And I want to read to you Romans chapter 2 verse 15, that says, they show that the requirements of the law are written on their hearts, their consciences are also bearing witness in their thoughts, sometimes accusing them, and at other times even defending them. Um, that would be pretty much it. Nevertheless, I want to say something else. I didn't include this on the presentation. That's something a little bit, it could be a little bit apart, because another question could be like, which God should I believe in, right? Like, with so many religions, and considering that if there is a God, then what's the religion that I have to follow? I think that with so many religions, I would advise you to go for Christianity, which is not a religion itself, is putting your faith in Jesus Christ and live your life based on that, based on what he did. But don't follow Jesus Christ just because I'm telling you, because that would be dumb. That would be a sorry. Just like don't do something just because I'm telling you. I would recommend you, like, instead just read the historical evidence of Jesus through the Gospels, through his teachings of Jesus, like the way he lived, um, the miracles he performed. Is he reliable? Just take a look at the way he lived, and ask yourself, is Jesus reliable? And you have to make the same with any other religion. Um, but I advise you, if there is no life, no gospel, more marvelous than the person of Jesus Christ, which is God in human form, and who lived a perfect life to die on a cross for our sins, and then he rose from the dead 3 days later, and so that we could have a relationship with him, so we could have a
Okay.
relationship with God.
Thank you very much, Eliezer. I'm gonna give a chance to your classmates to make some questions. Go ahead.
My
Me,
question.
teacher. Oh, so let me go first, please. So, do you think we should follow God through a church, or which way do you think we should follow God?
That's a hard one. Okay, I would say that you can have a relationship with God without going to church. That's a possibility, of course. But while you are developing your communion with God, you are going to realize that it is necessary to go to a church. Why? Because there are other people. Okay, I'm going to answer the question based on the Christian point of view. Okay, um, you're going to realize that it is necessary for you to have communion with your brethren, with people also that believe in the same God that you have. Why? Because while you read the Bible, you're going to find out that God commands you to gather with your brethren, with the people that have the same belief than you. So yeah, I think that it is important to go to church. I don't think it is necessary to go to church to have a relationship, but it is something that God commands.
Okay, anybody else?
Yeah, my question is in the I believe God exists and is distorted and divided and before Christ and after Christ. But still, they are people I don't believe in God. Why do you think science takes precedent over belief in God?
I didn't catch the question. Can you like reformulate it or say it one more time? Sorry.
Repeat?
Yeah, please.
Okay. Why do you think sciences take a precedent over belief in God?
Okay, so why do I think that science contradict the existence of God? Could that be the question? Okay, so I just place an example actually regarding Stephen Hawking's, and I mean I am not a scientist, so it's hard for me to answer that question, right? I do not have their minds, and of course I do not know everything that they think of why they think that there is no God, right? Because they have their points, but I do know that there are also other scientists that know that God exists, right? So it's everything depends on their point of views, on their perspectives. Mm. So what can I say? I mean, I do know that they think that there was nothing prior to the universe. Okay, like everything just happened, through the evolution and so on, and they would have their reasons, right? But I have my reasons as well. And there's never going to be like an absolute truth. You see what I'm saying? It's always going to be hard, and there's always going to be this debate. The best that you can do is just like trying to, on your own, find your own pieces of evidence. Do the evidences points out that there is a God, or do the evidence points out that there's no God? That's it.
Okie dokie, I'm gonna stop the recording.